Chapter 5 The Witch Queen. Ben put his katana back in his sheath and got rid of the armor he was wearing. "What did I do?" said Justin in distress. "I heard it as I crushed it. Its screams are still ringing in my ear." Justin looked at his hands as terror was written all over his face. The others were coming out of cover and started heading towards Justin and Ben. Ben grabbed Justin's shoulder and said, "Hey, you did the right thing. I couldn't get to it for some reason, but if you had let that thing live, we would still be fighting it. Probably at least for another 10 minutes. Justin looked at Ben in the eyes and said, But you did the right thing. Try to calm yourself." James was the first to get there and was wondering what happened. Ben told him as the others came closer. "I'm sorry, Justin. I should have been the one to grab that ghost," Will said, now perfectly fine. Justin shook his head and said, "No, I was the only one close enough to get it. Besides, Ben is right. I had to crush it if I wanted to make sure no one else got hurt." He looked at everyone around him, and all they could do was smile. Charles went in for a hug, and everyone else hugged Justin. Like one big pile of armor stored in the middle of the room. Ben stood back and watched the big pile of hugs, wondering if his family misses him. This wasn't the longest Ben had been away from his family. Last time he was still in his world was a friend who fought by his side. Note the monsters back home were weaker than the monsters here. In this world, death seemed to be around every corner. But then again, these guys can just come back and keep fighting. I need to be a bit more careful if I'm gonna make it, Ben thought as they all backed up from the group hug, and Justin wiped his tears and said, "Okay, I'm good. Thanks, guys." "No problem, little buddy. We know what you've been through, and we're here for you, no matter what." Ben thought that was the kindest thing Oliver ever said. "We need to keep moving. Will you be alright?" said Logan, crossing his arms, like he wasn't in the group hug. "Yes, I can keep going." "Good, 'cause what comes next won't be easy," James stated as he looked at the portal that had opened up before them, the same one the Queen went through. They stepped through the other side, where a horde of hive waited for them. Ben was the last one to go through. He saw a huge open platform, but instead of over the edge just being air, there was a lake with another landmass on the other side. He also saw the others had all formed a group, all back to back. Ben thought about joining, but decided to stop holding back. He drew his katana, while only holding it with his right hand, and created a giant longsword in his other hand. He ran at the hive as he cut through them with speed and accuracy, spinning into the air and then crashing down, as lines of crystals formed like a crack on the ground, and crystal spikes came out of it, impaling the hive. His katana and longsword glowed a bright white as he got even faster, a blur on the battlefield. Ben summoned lasers of pure white light that came crashing down from the sky. Justin flew close to Ben and said, "Hey, what's with the light show?" "Oh, just thought I should stop holding back," Ben said as he cut 5 hive with a single swing with his longsword. When the horde of hive were finally destroyed, Ben dropped 2 of his elements but kept the air around him. He didn't know if it was safe to breathe or not. But as he was thinking, the Queen showed up, bigger than Ben saw her last time, floating over the water, slowly getting closer. She spoke in an echo, saying, "So, you have come for my head. My master told me guardians would come to my kingdom and try to kill me. But the only one I have to worry about is him," as she held a finger out in Ben's direction and launched a Nova Bomb, a ball of void, right at him. Ben dodged out of the way, but James was hit instead and disintegrated into nothingness. As she summoned a hive guardian that looked like the one they had just fought, as well as 2 more that Ben had not seen yet. One looked like Will, but a bit bigger, with sparks coming out of his hands, while the other looked like Logan, who had a handgun. Ben looked at Justin to see his face in a state of fear and despair, but he quickly slapped himself out of it and regained his composure as determination swept across his face. Charles ran forward and put up a see-through wall and shot through it at the huge hive guardian with the shield, while Logan and the hive guardian with the cloak ran off around a corner to who knows where, and Will and Oliver began to fire at the hive guardian that was floating over the water. "Hey, Justin," said Ben. "You get the big guy. I'll go with Logan." Justin pulled out his sidearm, and it changed into an SMG with spikes on it, and an eerie green glow. "Yep, I got this," Justin said as he pointed the gun in front of him. "But if I go down, I think I won't be able to get back up normally. So if you can..." Ben didn't hear the last part, as he ran off towards Logan. "I hope you will be alright," Ben thought. Wait, if that's true, then what about James? Is he just gone now? I thought they were invincible. I can't let anyone else die. As he ran around the corner, he saw the cloaked hive throw a wave of flaming knives that Logan dodged in the nick of time and slid behind a staircase. Ben summoned the red circle, where a boy that looked like Ben, but had a red fur vest and shorts with fur on the rim, and red hair, as well as red eyes. Ben spoke first. "Fire, it's been a while. Do you mind taking this guy down?" Fire smiled and said, "Heh, sounds fun. But we still need to talk." He walked towards the hive and spoke again. "Hey, you!" "Yes, you. What's your name?" Logan stared at Fire and turned his head towards Ben, as though he was saying, "Explain." So Ben went over to him and told him, "I can summon my elements to fight for me." Not elementals, let me make that very clear. Logan was trying to wrap his head around it as he watched Fire blast the hive. Ben shouted, "We need to finish this quickly!" Fire nodded and flames enveloped his fist as he ran forward and jumped into the air. The hive dodged out of the way as his fist flew past the hive's head. He turned around and used his other hand as a flamethrower. The hive shot through the flames like he couldn't feel pain or just didn't care what happened to himself. Fire was hit by the bullet, and it caused him to stumble. Well, if you want to get serious, as Fire's body was entirely consumed by flames, then I'll give you a reason to be serious. The hive launched another volley of flaming knives, but Fire just stood there, not fazed by it. Then he laughed as he ran forward and grappled the hive and said, "Explosion!" As the flames on his body erupted and expanded so much that it looked like someone just threw 100 grenades in one spot. Logan's jaw dropped as he stood there. Ben was looking around for one of those ghosts. His eyes glowed purple, then orange. He spotted the ghost after 3 seconds. Rats, just 2 more seconds, Ben thought. Logan needs to break it, but we don't have enough time. There was no time for words as Ben grabbed Logan's hands. Glowing white lightning pulsed through his body. He ran towards the ghost and placed Logan's hand on it. Logan, thankfully, gripped the ghost and crushed it. Ben sighed with relief. Good, it's gone, he thought as he went over to Fire, who said, "Pretty impressive, right?" Yes, I know, you can blast things." "Yeah, but there's no trace of him." Fire had a point there. There wasn't even a charred body left. Okay, yes, there's nothing left of him. But you could have ended that sooner. Then why didn't you end that sooner? Ben thought for a moment before saying, "Okay, the next time I will. But that means you cannot join the next fight." That seemed to shut him up for a minute. Logan walked over and said, "As weird as this is, we need to get back to the others." Ben nodded, and a red circle glowed under Fire's feet. He said in protest, "Hey, I still need to talk to you," as he disappeared as quickly as he appeared. Ben dropped all of his elements again to see if he could breathe without a constant O2 supply, but realized he still needed it as he felt lightheaded and cast it on his head once again. Man, I'm glad I made the air element like this, or I would not be of any use here. As they ran back to the others, Ben could only see Justin and Oliver. Where is everyone else? Ben wondered. Oliver was crushing what seemed to be the last ghost and raised his fist in the air and yelled, "Is that the best you got, witch?" Just after he said that, an eerie ring filled the air, and then she spoke. "No, I have something else in mind. Your destruction." As a bridge appeared over the water, leading to the platform that kind of looked like an island. Ben went over to Justin and said, "Where are the others?" He hoped that Justin would say they're all right, but instead he said, "They were killed. They wanted us to finish the job." Ben felt something. Was it anger? Rage? Sadness? Whatever it was, he had to kill something to get it off his chest. He ran as fast as he could over the bridge without hearing everything Justin had to say. Katana still in his right hand, he took his sheath in his left hand and held it like a sword. He got to the other side in just a few seconds, while everyone else would take a few minutes to cross. On the island, he saw her floating over the middle of the island, with a vicious smile over her face. Like she was glad he was there, or she knew she would win. Ben flew straight for her and cut into her arm, but her armor was too strong, and his katana bounced right off her. How is her defense so high? Ben thought, as he tried again and again with all his might, but this time she dodged out of the way and hit him with a flaming knife that went right through his left arm. It then exploded, and his arm almost cleanly fell off. But it was barely still attached. But he dropped his sheath in the process. He yelled in pain as he fell back down to the ground with a thud. He found his sheath just a few feet away from him. As he painfully stumbled over to it, he touched it with his foot and completely healed himself. He grabbed his sheath with his left hand and put it back at his side. Okay, I need to kill her, but I can't even hurt her. Think, Ben, think, he thought as he looked up to see she wasn't looking at him, but towards the bridge. What took her attention away from me? As he looked at the bridge, he saw 3 figures running towards them. They're getting closer. I have to find a way to stop her, so they'll be safe. He calmed down a bit, and remembered he had magic. I shouldn't have forgotten that, even if I was blinded by rage, or whatever. Okay, time for plan Seal. Just without Justin. He teleported behind her, and created a sphere around her that was invisible. It would be able to stop her spells, Ben thought. And if she has any more up her sleeve, then I'll just configure the barrier. She turned around and tried to blast him with lightning, but it just vanished into thin air. Ben saw Justin flying as fast as he can to him. Ben thought, how do we make her weaker? She flew further back into the island. Ben flew with her, making sure he wasn't too far from her. She tried to lose him, but he was locked in. She soon flew closer to the ground and next to another hive. This one looked like her, but smaller. Wait, Ben thought. Are those little witches giving her power? Well, only one way to find out. He then came crashing down with his katana, slicing the witch in two. The Witch Queen's armor glinted a bit before it settled down again. She said, "This is why he warned me about you." Just then, Justin came crashing down with lightning spreading out all around him from the impact. Ben spoke as the dust settled. That was pretty stupid to show us where your little U's are. She responded with, "They are nothing. I can make more later." Justin stood beside Ben and said, "You're going to pay for hurting my friends." She flew back towards the center of the island, with Ben and Justin right on her tail. Once they were back, her armor glinted again. Another one of her witches gone. She turned to face them with anger in her eyes as she said, "If I can't kill you, then I'll just summon some more hive." She raised her hands and hive crawled out of the ground like zombies. Ben ran and sliced as many as he could, but they just kept coming. It felt like whenever he took down one, 2 more would take its place. Justin was throwing grenades like it was the slime festival. Ben thought back to his friends and family, and the many fights they won. He shook his head to try and refocus on the fight at hand. Soon her armor glinted again, but this time it was brighter and lasted way longer. Was that the last one? Justin drew a void bow and shot the Witch Queen, but it disappeared before it got to her. Oh, right. Ben ran up to Justin and said, "Sorry, I had to go with Plan Seal without you. Let me take the barrier down so you can fight." As soon as Ben got rid of the barrier, Justin fired his void bow again. This time, it hit, and she staggered back. Ben drew everything he had and created a small ball of fire and threw it at the queen, causing an explosion so gigantic that she fell to the ground and every hive around her was burnt to a crisp. The fire didn't even hurt Justin, just like it's supposed to. She slowly got back up and said, "Horrible worms, you'll be sorry for this." And behind her, a portal opened up. Ben ran forward and slashed at her, but she dodged and launched a barrage of flaming daggers at Ben. He got out of the way just in time, but Justin couldn't. Justin was disintegrated in an instant right before Ben's eyes. He went limp as tears rolled down his face. He said, "How could you?" But she was already gone. Her portal still open. Almost like she was taunting him. Fine, Ben thought. If she wants to hurt my friends, then I'll hurt her. As he walked into the portal. That felt a bit more natural. That was it. Yeah.